Okay, tonight is the culmination of many weeks, months, I suppose, work and effort on all our behalves. And I really will go ahead and show you the design. I've made this printed matter, which just explains everything in a chronological sequence across the work. Okay, so going from left to right, I've started with the dawn of time. Very good place to start. And as we discussed in our last meeting, I've got a living dinosaur coming out of a fossil. In the background here we have the geological strata of the region and early man napping flints. And then to the sort of border you can see things that relate all the way across the work. The border relates to the activities or the era as we get to the present day. So we have fossils and flints and Bronze Age things and mosaic from... These are actually mosaics from Lullingstone. I went down there a couple of weeks ago, have a look at it. A sort of Boadicea character to sort of symbolise early Britain, and early Briton as it were. Anglo-Saxon wheel bosses and bridle bits. Then we get up to our battle scene, and this is depicting two battles. The Offa, King of Mercia and Aldic, King of Kent. And in the background here I've put another battle, which is Edmund Ironside and King Canute. And then we can have our river running with blood, which is always quite fun. Yeah. We've got a few bones and booty, because in the King Canute battle they fought for booty, so there's some booty going around here. And of course everything's dated as we go along as well, so we've got a good chronology working. Okay, moving on into part 3 as it were. Thomas à Becket and his miracles. Here I've got the miracle of the singing nightingales we discussed at the last meeting. Here they are singing up above, and here they are on their backs down below. And the well I've made as subtle as possible, because I don't want to sort of have gushings of water flying everywhere, so I built it into the stream, into the river down, running through here. So there's a little spring coming up in it, and it also goes down into the cement fondue work as a sort of relief, watery relief. Otford Palace, and just over there you can see a gold line, and that's a ground plan of the palace at around 1500. William Warham, there's a large figure because he's so important to that particular era. And then the play that we discussed at the last meeting. During the time of the plague, many festivities were indulged upon at the palace in an attempt to ignore the horrors of pestilence. One such pastime were extravagant plays, an example of which I have included. So that's there. I put this early sort of cricketer in with his sort of early bat. Scene of Otford High Street, circa approximately Victorian group standing there. A little register of Otford's births, which is quite an important one, of about 1660. The map that I was going to overlay from the late 18th century I've put as a cement fondue map at the bottom here. Representation of hops, which of course is very important in local industry, but also very important because you could only drink beer really at this particular period. You couldn't really drink the water unless you wanted to end up like this lot back here. And then something to sort of stop that, which changed everything really for the whole community, which is the coming of the trains. So we have a train which is actually not quite right, the funnel's a bit long as I discovered later, but colour and everything's correct. Loco of this region. Turn of the century, and this couple here represent either going away or coming back from the wars. That could be representative of either war. A soldier leaving on the train, or perhaps returning. Spark plugs and the combustion engine and car keys, which represent obviously cars. Or these are train tickets, by the way, for the train. The ubiquitous Otford Three Ducks, which I think is where have we got to? Credit cards, well I'm afraid they're in our lives, so circuit boards to denote electricity and sort of electrical science. The landing on the moon, such an important event, really can't be missed, so I've just got a little landing module against a symbol of the moon there, just coming down. proton structures and satellite dishes to represent sort of medical and communications. And then right at the very end here, while we're looking at the border, hand of the oldest inhabitant of Otford at the time of the turn of the century, and a handprint of the youngest. And I have a mother picking an apple, and apples being symbolic of fruit of knowledge, and obviously of the locality, but in a symbolic sense of knowledge, passing that to her son, who in turn is passing it to another generation. So there's always this continuity flowing. And a rather nice sort of fruit tree at the end here. And the church just in the background. And the ubiquitous four-wheel drive. So that is my design, which I commend to you.
Sorry.
My first impressions, it's really excellent. I mean, the way you've absorbed lots and lots of information and consolidated and refined it. And
I do like this. I do like that very much.
Yes, it's a nice idea.
It's a very good idea.
Yes.
It's splendid.
I mean, all the, you know, I thank you all for your praise, obviously, but all the ideas have come about through all our meetings.
Yes,
I mean, it's been a communal effort.
Yes.
Amazing.
Well, I think if we don't get this put up, it'd be a great loss.
Absolutely.
Well, let's say the objective of the educational programme would be to use the mosaic to foster a sense of belonging, a sense of pride by the children in their village, and also to enable them to have some broad understanding of the village's history, its geology, its natural history and so on, because all those things have been encapsulated by all the experts we pulled together.
The villagers were approached and the mosaic project was discussed in detail, from the size of it and colouring of the tiles to its final position in the village. Their approval was given, so Oliver was asked to proceed with the commission, and he started work at his studio in Goudhurst.
This is a drawing of, this is the original artwork rather, and I've just transposed this from 1/2 inch to the foot, which the scale design is, onto the working wall. And as you can see here, you can just visibly see the visible foot squares underneath the drawing paper. I don't bother to put any colour on at this point because I've got the colour on there, so this is just a line drawing. And really and truly this is quite important that all the dimensions are correct, but this is a skeleton of the work, so I've got to get this exactly right, and then we'll cover it with polythene, put the metal mesh on, and the mosaic can be set on top of that following the drawing. This is a polythene that I use, and this protects the drawing from the adhesive, which is going to squeeze through the metal mesh. And the reason we want to protect the drawing is because it's good to have the original artwork full size, in case anything disastrous happens to the work in future. I've always got the original artwork. And if you pan the camera up there, all the jobs I've ever done rolled up. This is a galvanised mesh, because we're going to set this, when it's covered in mosaic, we're going to set them into the metal trays that we're having made. When these are finished and they're covered in mosaic on the working wall, the adhesive that I use is a flexible one. So though it's set solid, it's like an eraser in the sense that, you know, it's like rubber. And the panels can be peeled off the wall and then dropped into the metal tray with more adhesive, and then fixed with pins through the tray, so it's got a kind of double strength to it. Now the beauty of this technique, of course, is that you can see the drawing, as we put it up here, you can see the drawing through the mesh. What I'm doing now is that obviously these panels are very large. So if we had a tray made, well, we can't have a tray made this complete size because it's too big for the actual metal sheets. So I'm going to have them made half the size of this panel. So I've got to chop the metal right up the middle so that they come apart when the mosaic's completed. This technique, by the way, of using metal mesh was developed by my father back in the early 1960s when he started making mosaics. And it was an idea that he devised because he knew that if he went off on site and made mosaics in situ, his marriage would last about 5 minutes. So he decided to keep himself at home and in the studio, where it's relatively warm. He could work the mosaic in comfort and then take it on site in finished panels. The colours that we're going to be using are all going to be a mixture of ceramic and glass mosaic. This is vitreous glass. It's a bit dull, to be honest, and a bit manufactured. But I will use a little of that to keep the costs within reason. But this is the most beautiful of all mosaics. It's called Smalty Glass and Enamel. And the way it's made, it's like a huge pancake that's sort of put down onto a cold metal former, and it comes up something like this. They'll all be of different sizes. That's the edge of the pancake there. So it's like a big disc plate, about this, approximately that sort of size. And then it's chopped up into that size, and I buy it actually like that. So that piece there is like a section through the mosaic plate, just like that. And they're chopped up on tools called quadrators that look like large sewing machines with chisels in. And then, amongst all that beautiful stuff, we've got the queen of all mosaics, which are gold and silvers. And that's actually gold and white gold leaf. So we'll put some of that into the mosaic just to give it a little sparkle. And the other material, of course, are just basic ceramic tiles, but they're not any old ceramic tiles, they're frost-proofed so that they can withstand all the weathering that they're going to get in Otford High Street. All the border panels are going to be in cement fondue, and cement fondue is a type of cement, but it's very light in that it's really just like a skin of cement. It's called lightning or cement fondue. That means it goes up very quickly. And you put fiberglass into the back, which gives it its strength, so it's very strong, but it has all the qualities of cement in that when it's set and it will weather. So these will fit in top and bottom of the tray, there and below, and the mosaic will fit in between. And where these cutouts are, the mosaic will fit in there. The making of the cement fondue panels works in this order. Fiona's making a clay master, and from the clay master that's put into just an MDF box, basically. It's a sort of flat bed and sides. And then we use this wonderful material, which is a reusable moulding material called Vinamold or vinyl mould. And this can just be chopped up into tiny little inch squares and popped into the melting pot. And after about half a day, you can get a good sized pot load. And then just pour it in on top of the master. And from that, next day you can peel this out.
Oh, that's very satisfying, isn't it?
And you have your actually, it's not female lineage.
Yes.
Once that's been made, you put that back into the box and paint cement fondue. Now, cement fondue or lightning is a very fast-setting cement. So you paint in what they call the goo, which is just like a sort of custard consistency of cement fondue, into the mould, and then chop up fiberglass matting into
What's that be done?
2 or 3 inch squares, and
And right up to the corners.
work that into the cement fondue, and then
It's amazing.
put it onto the back. So you're building up sort of layers. These ones under here, ones we fondued yesterday, but they haven't finished going off yet. That one's almost gone. But you have to keep them very wet, otherwise it goes all powdery and it's not a very strong mix. Having done the cement fondue panel, I've just taken the Vinamold out of the frame, and now we're going to peel the panel off. So I'll turn it upside down, putting a board on top of it, turn it over, and we just peel it off from this side And there we are. Now of course at this stage it looks fairly rough, so what has to be done is that all this has to be trimmed off and the front's polished up. I've been using a black lead polish which gives a rather nice effect. Wonderful sheen which can always be buffed up again. It's starting to come up really nicely now. At this stage I'm just putting the adhesive onto the mesh. This is a rubber based flexible adhesive called Bowflex, which you mix a kind of latex liquid to a cement powder. But the beauty of it is that when these panels are finished and come off the wall, you can see this piece I did earlier, it's pretty solid. You know, when it comes off the wall the panels are flexible, so it gives means we can transport them. Now this form of mosaic work is known as andamento, and all that really means is just flow lines of mosaic, but what it does is it emphasises the shape of the object you're drawing. In a sense, you're drawing with mosaic. So all the outer lines I do first, and I'm just setting them so they're about 2 mm apart, and that's so that the grout has somewhere to go. When I set each piece of mosaic in, I'm just pressing them home, just so they're well embedded into the adhesive. Every morning, after a day's work, you have to pick out all the excess adhesive. Which is okay on broken tile, but when you're in mosaic, it's... Where's the wine? Yeah. It's a wine. If you don't do this, you know, I have the fear that it'll separate. Happy?
Yes.
Sure?
Yeah.
Looking good, looking good.
Don't fly.
So, yes. That's okay, this is the bow fast flex. The beauty of this stuff is it remains flexible, so that when the panel's in the tray, we can lift it up and move it around until it's grouted. It will have quite a bit of flex without anything popping off. I'm just going to spread it out generally across the whole shape. Of course, not over where the little cement fondue panels are going, because I'll do that at a later date. Okay, having spread it out all over the whole area that we want to fix to, just go over. That gives a really nice bonding in the day. Excellent. So the mosaic's now been set into the tray, and I'm grouting it with a mixture of grey grout and a little bit of charcoal grout in there as well, because I wanted to darken it up so that it matched up with the cement fondue panel, so to go in top and bottom. I'm pushing the grout into the joints between all the mosaic. And in a minute, when I've done all this, we'll wash it all off. Okay, having put all the grout on the surface of the mosaic, we use this wonderful machine called a German wash boy. And this is this sponge is specially cut so it collects all the grout out of the surface of the mosaic. So you basically wash it around like this, and then you just pull it down and looks like that. Most of it comes off. get them all done by the end of May. In my dreams. I'm setting these in with the same adhesive that I did the rest of the work with. Just using a slate border here, which I just felt would give a finish to the panels, otherwise they'd be right up on the edge. It also slightly protect them against the edge of the panels if they get knocked. I'm very pleased with that chap who's thrown the spear. And the
Oliver encouraged the local schools to take an interest.
My name's Oliver Budd, and I'm an artist, and I've been commissioned to design and make a mosaic for Otford Town, for Otford Village, High Street, which is going to hopefully go on the church hall, along the wall of the church hall. Do you all know that? Mm-hmm. Starting at the dawn of time, we've got pterodactyl coming out of a fossil, so it's like a bit of living history. So this goes back, it's made exactly the same way as it was made back in the Byzantine times. This is Queen Boadicea and the White Horse of Kent. And then this is a battle, King Offa and his battle, and that's the very first church in Otford. Well, there's 4 panels, it'll probably take about a month a panel. So I've got 2 panels to start with, which should be done by May the 29th, which is a village fete. All the money has to come from all different people. It comes from people that donate money, charities, lottery fund hopefully, all these different people. So if we can get all the money together, then we can finish it. So going from left to right, here we start with the dawn of time. This is a dinosaur here. Does anybody know what that one is? Flying dinosaur? Yeah? Pterodactyl. Or pterosaur. Could be a pterosaur. Oh, it could be that too. Health and safety. Well, some of these things are actually in there. So there are things like little bosses, little brass bosses from horse Well, I'm not a kind of typical artist really. I work in a material called mosaic. Does anybody know what mosaic is? Yes, you.
It's where you chop pieces of paper or tie it up into small bits and pieces to make a picture.
That's correct, well done. But the really exciting thing for you, and for me, is that we're doing a mosaic that's going to go into your village. And it's going to be somewhere in the high street. All these lovely coloured bits here, all the colour bits are going to be made in mosaic. Now the mosaic is that material there, beautiful colours. That's all glass mosaic from Venice. Bishop's Palace at Otford. Who can tell me who the very famous bishop was who was killed in Canterbury Cathedral? Archbishop, sorry.
The Archbishop of Canterbury.
That's right. Do you know his name? The one who was murdered? It's called Thomas à Becket.
The people who are hoping to put this mosaic there want to do it for a particular purpose which you mentioned. It is to mark this particular year 2000, and it's intended to be a beautiful work of art showing the history of our village in an artistic form that you can all enjoy now, and that lots and lots of children coming to this school for many years to come will all be able to see it and enjoy it and think that's what the people of Otford put there so we could remember this particular year.
Two of the panels were erected in July to encourage greater support, and the mosaic was completed just before Christmas.
Thank you for turning up to see this historic event. I can't tell you how happy the Otford Society is that we have finally arrived at the finish line. And it's very appropriate that we have 6 children who attend the 3 schools in our village who are going to unveil this memorial to the history of Otford.
I'd just like to say about the mosaic that I think it's very colourful and very clever the way they've done this border with taking specific tools from the period of time. And I also like the prints that they've done from the eldest and the youngest members of Otford of the last millennium.
Down the other end.
I think the mosaic is very colourful. It shows the history of Otford from pterodactyls to our times. My favourite part shows the Romans because I know more about them. There is a villa behind the Roman soldier and a bucket next to him. The mosaic is it's more colourful than the mosaics at Stone Villa. I like it. I think the mosaic is excellent. It shows the history of Otford really clearly. People passing through Otford will enjoy observing the different sections of it. The mosaic makes Otford more attractive. People who don't know the history of Otford can look at the mosaic and get a picture of what life was like throughout the centuries. Hello, my name is Claire Stevens, age 10. I have been living in Oxford for 8 years. I go to Oxford Primary School, which I enjoy very much. I love living in Oxford, a village which has so much history to see. I'm very fond of the old buildings, especially the church, where I and my mum sing in the choir, and Archbishop's Parish. When I go to Brownies, in the church hall on which the mosaic is fixed, I shall sit very regularly and will enjoy looking at the colourful scenes it illustrates.
I'd just like to say that my favourite bit is when the generations pass down the fruit and then pass it down to the generations below. The mosaic also represents tiny of thousands pieces come together to form one big and colourful thing as a community, and it also will last for generations to come.
My first impression is that this is more than the usual timeline. This requires attention and imagination to appreciate all that this has to offer. I like the way it flows from time to time, but it can be challenging to understand. My favourite bit is the Saxons, but every time I look at it, I see something new, another detail I've missed. I hereby unveil the Otford Millennium Mosaic.
Now, the history of this undertaking from its start as a village map through to its involvement as a millennium event is one of community participation. Every organisation in Otford had the opportunity to have a say in its content, and many did. And when the form of a mosaic was decided upon, we were very fortunate to enlist the services of the artist Oliver Budd, someone who grew up in this area and knows it well. And his research was assisted by advice and information from knowledgeable residents, and the result is the imaginative design that you've seen today. A reminder to succeeding generations that we have celebrated this special moment, but a reminder especially for children of our roots in the past. a work of art to stimulate community awareness and civic pride, and we can only hope that it will contribute to these objectives. And it's very appropriate that on a new beginning to a new century that the children should have taken part in this ceremony. We have a small gift for each of them, and our MP, Michael Fallon, who is here, is going to present these to the children.
Well, could I just say, Ken, to repeat to you how moving I thought today's occasion was, and particularly the choice of the children to do it. The new millennium does belong to our children. With our advice, our encouragement, it is now for them to take this village and this community forward. Therefore, I have very great pleasure in presenting these little gifts. First of all, to Sophie Billings. And to Helen Fotheringill. To William Hayes. Claire Stevens. To Martin Taplin. And finally to Graham Webb.
Now, those of you who saw our little presentation at the Fete will remember that we had a draw there for a personalised plaque. And by chance, it was won by Peter Venables, who is, fortunately, Secretary of the Parochial Church Council. How appropriate that was. And Barbara Darby, who would have been presenting this if she wasn't doing the video, has designed a special motif for the Venables family.
You buy a raffle ticket and you never expect to win anything, and this is very special because you will be remembered for hundreds of years, Peter, not just because of what we do, but also because of what is outside here. And we're delighted to share in this special moment of history. It seems to have been a very historical 2 years, and so it's lovely to share in this moment.
Thank you.
I'm in a wheelbarrow is where I belong, but speeches. No, thank you very much indeed. It's wonderful. Thank you.
We have a record of all the people who owned up to being the oldest at that time, and a record of most of the babies born in 1999, and the last one to be born was, in fact, Ben Moon. I hesitate to say that the Moons had a son, but they don't. Ben is with us today. His parents are going to receive the plaque from Oliver.
For our patience for trying to get this together. It took us quite a few attempts, but I knew some good would come out of it being 2 weeks late anyway. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. Well, thank you very much for bringing Ben.
I'd like to present you with your very own plaque here. Congratulations. I'm the artist, yeah.
Remember my grandson?
No, I don't know. Oh, I do, yes, I do, yes. There we go, it's a little local thing there. Shall I put that on the side?
Our hope is that wherever we come from, that this mosaic will be an enduring and constant reminder of the historic roots we have all inherited. Thank you very much.